The Baltimore Ravens dropped the divisional round playoff game and the tying 2-point conversion to the Buffalo Bills 27-25 in Orchard Park Sunday night to advance to the AFC Championship in Kansas City. We recap this entire playoff victory. Let's go.
To my friend Nate and all the listeners of this podcast, no one circles the wagons to Nate Escape. Circle the wagons, Buffalo.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo. Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo.
The Bills make me wanna.
What is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another episode of Circling the Wagons, a Buffalo fan base podcast. I am your host, Nate, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a tremendous episode for you guys to talk about this Bills playoff victory, the divisional round win against the Ravens, 27-25. The first time the Bills have been in the AFC Championship in, 5 years? Feels like it's been a while. So we're going to talk about everything having to do with that game. We're going to touch on the Bills-Chiefs matchup later this week. But first, we're going to talk about, obviously stats of the game, thoughts on the game, Sweet Sassy Molassy plays of the game, Wall of Fame and Wall of Shame, and of course, some comments from our Bills fans on social media. But first, I'd like to welcome my co-hosts, John and Mike, to the podcast. John, I'll start with you first, man. How are you feeling after the Bills beat the Ravens just barely to get to the AFC Championship game?
Really great. Knew it was going to be a really tough game going in. And it really, it's kind of funny how it worked out. Like, it really came down to, Baltimore had 3 turnovers, 2 missed 2 points, and Bengals had a 51-yard field goal, and the Bills won by 2. You combine those things in some combination, and things could have gone very differently. Feels great to get that win. Lots of bulletin board material for the Bills to add to wanting to win. Like, you always want to win, but like to get that extra, that Jerry Coleman guy out of the radio host out of Baltimore, City of Losers thing, and then you have the Ravens are favored against the Bills at home. The Bills haven't had a home game where they've been not favored in so many games, and the divisional game stigma where they can't get past this round, like all these things. The Bills are supposed to be in a transitional rebuilding year, all these things. And you could tell, like, when Allen and McDermott talked about those things post game, when they're asked, they were completely honest. Allen's like, hey, like, McDermott was asked about the City of Losers thing, and then Josh Allen specifically talked about, like, I don't like.
Are you stroking out, bro?
I'm stroking out.
You need one of us?
I'm so happy too. Like, I'm just trying to find the words, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of things, a lot of billboard. Absolutely. I mean, I'll jump in real quick, John, if you don't mind. I was.
Save him, bro.
My gosh, like I you're right. I can't find my words. Yeah, I'm so happy and like trying to figure it all out in my head. You know what? Honestly, half of it is I'm already thinking about Kansas City. So I'm like thinking about that while I'm trying to talk about Baltimore.
Yeah. It was funny. You were trying to describe what you were going through, and you're just like, I'm having a hard time describing it. It's just like, it's hard to describe what you're going through because you're having a hard time describing it. John, you hit on a lot of really good things there. All the bulletin board material, everything going into this game, the MVP conversation with Josh versus Lamar. And this game, to me, felt like, and Mike, you can let me know if you think this as well or something else, but it felt like this was the kind of game that the Bills normally play and lose, is what the Ravens did. The 3 turnovers you mentioned, John, the inopportune, penalties, and just small misses here or there that just were the factor in the game. And normally, as a Bills fan, you're looking at these playoff games, it's just like, why did they do that? Why did they? I'm thinking back to like the Texans game. Remember that several years ago where, Milano and Taron Johnson were both about to sack Deshaun Watson. They both hit each other, and Deshaun Watson scrambles out and he gets the game-winning pass, right? Like stuff like that. And you're just like, that happens to us all the time. Mark Andrews getting a fumble after the first down catch and Terrell landing right on it after he fumbled. Like that doesn't happen for the Bills normally. It happens against the Bills. So it's so fun to be on this side of it. But yeah, everything that you mentioned, John, as far as all the negative connotation and stuff like that. So yeah. And Mike's working on some microphone stuff. But yeah, John, it was funny that that Jerry Coleman stuff was so stupid, and he's such an idiot, and he's totally one of those guys that just tries to troll everyone, right? Because even Bills Mafia at one point, was it a few years ago, when this happened, they were like, oh, Del Reed was trying to be the bigger person. He's like, well, let's donate to his mother's, it was like Alzheimer's Foundation or whatever, right? And then he basically took the opportunity to just like, screw you guys, I don't want your money. Like, I don't care that you guys did that almost. Like, so, Bills fans kind of went above and beyond, and he didn't care. So you had that, the city of losers. It's funny, even John Harbaugh, when he was asked that stupid question, he did not want to give into it at all. He's just like, can we talk about something else? Like, can we, why is this even being asked? And so, but yeah, Mike, sorry, cut you off earlier. You're working on it. Thoughts on this game? How are you feeling?
Oh,
Good.
I think the game was, as we expected, a close fought contest, and it really came down to the turnovers. Like you shudder to think if it had gone the other way. And I wonder, do you guys have a thought whether is it McDermott coaching? Like, I certainly think we would give a lot to Allen's decision making, but right, we saw how just Andrews, like the fumble and Lamar's fumble and the interception, like just absolute backbreaking kill. Like if not for those 3 turnovers, to John's point, we're maybe looking at a completely different game. So is it like the Bills are getting lucky? Is it will in the Ravens, I think we're very, very good with turnovers, right? Until they ran into the Bills. So could we potentially do we have to worry about a regression to the mean with our turnovers? Or if we just like, nope, we don't turn the ball over? Because that's what worries me about Kansas City. Like, and I'm with John, right? Like, because it's Monday. Sunday, I'll talk about the Ravens game all day. Now I'm like, okay, next game.
Valid point. The Bills,
Yeah,
Bills have
I don't know.
some sort of record, right, for number of games in a row with a not having a negative turnover ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been living off of that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that has variance, but they've been doing it consistently. Like you look at the Ravens game, they didn't force any punts. Okay, they got 3 turnovers, so that helps. And their third down conversions was not good on defense. Again, like the third down defense still needs
well, it's
work.
certainly bend and don't break, and hope like hell for the turnover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is something to worry about because that can't last forever. But they have been doing it consistently, so they're doing something right where they're like, being aggressive in the right moments, or punching it out. But no, there is some concern there. They can't you look at the season, they're having trouble on third downs on defense in general. So I do think that is a concern.
Yeah, luckily, it's funny you mentioned Mike said the turnover differential in this game. I mean, that's kind of been their MO all season. Am I worried about a regression to the mean? Always, because I'm a Bills fan. But if you go based on this season, they had the best turnover differential by like 9 turnovers. And that includes, giveaways and turnovers by your defense, right? Takeaways. And the Bills were by far the best in the league. And they continued that on Sunday again. So, yeah, am I worried? Sure. But they're kind of keeping with what they normally do. And the bend,
Yeah,
but
I would say though the Ravens were until they weren't. Like they were very good too.
True.
So I mean, again,
Just takes one game.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like I think the Bills can certainly beat Kansas City, but not if you give the ball away 3 times and they don't, right? Like I think the Ravens game was uncomfortably close given the turnovers.
Yeah, for sure. I felt the same way. The ending being so close, relying on a dropped 2-point conversion. The other 2-point conversion John mentioned, they stopped. It was just a tip up in the air in the end zone. That Trey White, pass interference call before the end of the half on third down that made the difference on that drive. They relied on a lot of things. And what's funny is sometimes getting into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl, a really deep postseason run is one of the factors that you got to have is luck, right? Like there is luck in some of these areas. I mean, we mentioned a play last week. I can't remember the Broncos play. There was a play where the Bills had that was kind of lucky, and it went their way, and it kind of changed the outcome of the game, or at least changed the momentum for the Bills. And this week there were several of them that changed them for the Bills, because at no point were they in control of this game. I think Lamar Jackson, I think the Ravens offense in general, minus the turnovers, had a much better day against the Bills defense than the Bills offense had against the Ravens defense. Bills just didn't make the mistakes that they were, but it would only take one, and that's all it took. Like John mentioned, Tyler Bass, an amazing game. He was clutch against the Ravens, which is not something that you can necessarily count on. So a ton of credit to him. We're going to get into Wall of Fame, Wall of Shame, and all that stuff later, but
he was great, but not 6 for 6. Yeah, he made the kicks you're expected to make. I mean, but the only reason that sticks out is because he has struggled in the past. So hopefully he's back to form. I agree. But I think I was surprised that like so much of the national narrative was hung on Mark Andrews in the drop 2, like absolute killer for sure. But there's a minute and a half left. The Bills have 2 timeouts with Allen. Like they're gonna win the game with a field goal. Are they not? It's not like that was the last play as time expired.
Yeah, true. The only caveat I'll say to that is the fact that like Allen wasn't doing a great job passing the ball. They were running the ball pretty well, but so it wasn't a shoe-in that Allen was going to march down the field and score. But yeah, it was absolutely a possibility, because all he needed was a field goal, right, at that point, if the Ravens do.
I thought Allen was relatively efficient. I just thought that they were very conservative.
I thought it was the game plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought it was a game plan to be conservative? It just wasn't that he was just taking what the defense was giving him?
Well, I don't think he played
he definitely made a couple of poor choices for, where it was like, do I take it myself or hand it off to Cook type of thing?
Yeah.
But like the game plan in general was pretty conservative on offense, and I thought that was one of the downsides in the game. I don't know if that was.
Yeah, I would say coming out after the half, I was surprised, right, to go 3 and like, oh, they're gonna double dip. Like, nope, 3 and out.
Yeah, and they punted twice after the half in a row, and it was like, yeah.
Mike's like, I love when you say that, Mike. I never realized I had a kink until the double dip, right? I feel like that's a new thing this season, scoring right before the end of the first half, and then coming out of the second half and scoring right again.
Yeah.
Is there any bigger turnoff to you than to go 3 and out?
Yeah. No,
there's no bigger tease than to score right before the half and then just come out and just not only do it once, it's 2, 3 outs. What are we even doing here? Why am I even at this place? Taking my nachos and going home. Yeah, I agree. It was a very conservative. You guys were talking about conservative game planning. I thought the defense was pretty conservative. I know there were turnovers, but the pass rush itself, I was saying on social media, I was like, the pass rush scares me going into the Chiefs. And a lot of folks were like, that's the way it was supposed to be. They were only rushing 3 guys. And it's like, yeah, I get that you only want to rush 3 guys.
I disagree. I think they're aggressive on defense.
Certainly with blitzing, I thought the play.
Yeah, I thought they definitely blitzed. They didn't. So I think part of the thing with the like when they did only rush 4, I think they're trying to contain Lamar and not let him get out. They're just like containing. But like when I did see lots of blitz, like Hamlin like was in there when on that botched snap, like he was already blitzing. I saw other plays where they were blitzing. I thought they were very aggressive on defense as opposed to on offense.
But in watching other games, like say the Eagles game, both teams, they rush 4 and they get home to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Bills can't
and
do that.
That's like predominantly watching Bills football week in and week out, and you watch some of these others and you're like, holy cow, that's a pass rush. Like getting in there, disrupting, making sacks, forcing picks. Like, wow.
Yeah, not requiring to blitz all out to get to the quarterback. Like you say, you just have guys that like on any given play, they can get there.
Yeah.
Whereas, Von will do it as long as the guy steps back 25 yards into him as he's running around. Like you'll get it, but that's not the case hardly ever. So yeah, I mean, I was watching it, so I was actually at the game and I'm watching, Lamar just kind of sit back there for like 8 to 10 seconds. It was insane how much time he had, and people are like, "Well, that's That's the strategy. And I get like containing him, but wouldn't you like one of those 3 or 4 guys to eventually get to him? Like I get that you're not trying to send the house so that you can cover a lot, but then wouldn't it be nice if because I feel like when the Bills had that happen, maybe not this season because the Bills are so good offensively on the O line, but in previous seasons they'd send 3 and get home in like 4 seconds or something like that. Like all of a sudden he has to move around the pocket. I mean, the Ravens had all day, and it was just a matter of is Lamar going to find the guy that's open or is he going to scramble or what? I mean,
The Bills spent a lot on the defensive line over the last few years just to stop Mahomes, and it's still not working.
one thing else. Go ahead.
I know, like the biggest thing he had was Von Miller, but then he got hurt.
And old.
And now he's old. So he got hurt, and then now he's old.
He's like 10 years younger than us, probably.
But you know what, though? Like, Justice
old
Hill's
as
really
shit.
fat. Like, he got ran down by Justice Hill on that one.
Well, we
Justice
were
Hill-
lucky he did
Justice-
not fumble
Ju-
that.
Justice
know.
Hill's
Were
really
you
fast.
watching that? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
no, it's
Justice
coming
Hill
out.
was like, boom, and like,
Yeah.
Miller, hold on to it. So, like, I can concur for all that.
I 100% would have fumbled that if someone came up behind me not expecting that at all. I'm surprised Von Miller did not. Again, another play that went for the Bills that could have easily gone the other way.
I want to
Yeah, that
talk about the decision to kick that. Like, I was shocked. Like, there was any question. Like, the announcer, like, and people I was with, like, yes, you want McDermott to be aggressive, but to kick such a chip shot field goal to go up 8 seemed like an absolute no-brainer. Was anybody, like you being at the game, were people in the stand, like, did people want them to go for that? Because it seemed like such an idiotic, if you really think, like, yes, be aggressive, maybe 7, but not 8. Like, if to go up 8, they have to score the touchdown, score the 2-point conversion, stop you from the game-winning field. Like, it's absolute no-brainer. And I was just shocked at the announcers and people's thoughts on that.
So there were Ravens fans behind us, so we were kind of chatting back and forth, just like trying to get their idea, like what they were like. It was funny listening to their commentary during the game. They're like, why isn't Derrick Henry in there right now? Like, why is he not, running the ball? Like Todd Monken or whatever his name is like, he's getting too cute. So yeah, when that play happened, the Ravens fans were like, good. I'm glad they're only, they're going for the field goal. It's like, I'd take 8 any day. He was like, at least we have a chance. They score a touchdown. He was like, we're done. So,
but the Ravens like the best in the league at that, stopping it on short down like that. And they stood up Allen, play right before.
I didn't like that play call right before that. And it was a shotgun, like read option. Like that was a terrible call. Like the Bills had not been able to successfully do that, I think, all game. And it's like, now you're going to do it in fourth and goal or third and goal when everybody's at the goal line. Like the chances are the best. I don't know, man. I didn't like that play calling. It's actually a preview of my wall of shame, but that particular series. But yeah, I was hoping that you're right.
Did you think Allen was going to lateral out there? If it was 2 years earlier? Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was looking for him.
And Tre'Davious White would take it back 97 yards. No.
The revenge game. Yeah, for sure. But no, it was when I was talking about it with, the guys I was with, I was like, that does make sense because it's not just like you said, it's a 2-point conversion also. And that ended up being the factor in that game, Mike, to your point, it was a no-brainer because it actually ended up mattering. And the Bills were lucky because they stopped the 2-point conversion earlier, and then they stopped this one. So yeah, it made sense when he did it. I thought he might go for it, just because you're so close, but it was the 3-yard line. It wasn't like the 1-yard line, right?
Yeah,
so
not
it was like 2.5,
not tush push,
but not QB sneak, right?
Yeah.
If they were on the 1 or less,
totally different.
I would have gone for it, but
totally
I
different.
100% agree with going for the field goal in that situation.
Here's a question for you guys: are they ever going to run that play like they're actually going, like they do it every single time, except he like backs out and he passes to a guy that's wide open for a touchdown, for like a 60-yard touchdown or something? You think that play is in their back pocket ever, or that will never happen? Like this next weekend would be a perfect time to break that out. Like all of a sudden Reggie Gilliam is on the outside, then he just like pretends to block.
Have a bunch of different back pocket, but it's got to be in the right situation. Like it's got to be like, right down a distance, right time of the game, and I'm waiting for that Alec Anderson touchdown pass. He's
Yeah.
always declaring eligible every single time. Like, I don't know. He's got to be in for like half the plays
Yeah.
as
This is the week, man.
an extra offensive lineman.
Yeah. Eventually, he's going to go out there.
At
right?
some
He's
point, he's going to catch a touchdown pass.
Yeah, the Bills like run that 6 offensive linemen more than anyone in the league. So they're just yeah, that's a good point. I hope they're just sitting on it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun stuff. I know we're going to get into a ton more. Let's go into the stats of the game real quick. Let's see. Let's start off with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Josh Allen had an efficient day, to your point, John. Efficient, 16 for 22, 127 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You know what's funny is I was thinking during the game, the Bills won that game if Josh Allen had put up better stats than Lamar Jackson. Then it would have really looked dumb if Lamar Jackson gets the MVP. Whereas now he gets it. He probably gets it just because he got the All-Pro nod. But I thought he had a great game. I thought.
Wait,
Lamar
you
Jackson
still
had a
you
great
still think Lamar Jackson's going to win MVP?
Yeah, I do. John, we never
Okay.
asked you,
No.
did we?
No, I'm still Allen, and
So,
and
John-
I have removed all bias, obviously. And you're going to owe me a garbage plate.
Yes, I will. I will.
Do you think
If I lose, which I
do you
won't.
want? Oh, you think?
No, who do you think, not what you want. Who do you
Wait,
think?
let's re-outline our like essentially the same stats. We'll say I give the advantage to Allen. I think the expectations were lower for the Bills, which helps Allen's case. I think he lost Diggs, and he doesn't have a Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry and Lamar. I mean, Derrick Henry has fallen off in the voting, right? But at one point was right up there with Saquon. And I think voter fatigue, man. Same thing I said last time. MJ didn't win MVP every year, and he should have, but voter fatigue is a real thing. These are just people. That's my case, John. Agree with me. Get out of here. Bro, no. I'll double up. What do you want to bet?
You should bet a garbage plate too. Yeah, thanks. Mike's going to owe us 2 garbage plates that night. That's going to be awesome. Or he's going to get 2.
Or I'm going to get one, go puke, and have the second.
Yeah, the vomitorium. You can go visit the vomitorium so you can have your second garbage plate. John, so everything.
When do they announce the MVP? Is it before the Super
What's
Bowl?
the bet,
or-
John?
Right before
You
the Super
call
Bowl.
it.
Yeah. Yeah,
What's
day
the
before the
bet?
Super Bowl or the Thursday before the Super Bowl or something.
I bet you a garbage plate that Lamar's going to win it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want Lamar,
Done.
man. And everything you said.
Deal?
Dale, is that the same deal with Nate?
Yeah.
So you could get 2 garbage plates if Allen
Yeah.
wins it. What if
It's going to
Allen
be inconvenient as hell.
what if Jackson and
They're
Allen
probably-
both don't win it and Saquon wins it?
You just give me a gift card.
It's like I don't want that many garbage plates in one sitting.
I don't have to hang out with you. I just want the monetary value.
That'd be funny if they gave it. I agree with everything you said, Mike, by the way, as a defender of Josh Allen being the MVP. And it'd be funny if they gave it like to like Lamar Henry, just both of them.
I hope Jackson gets it. Jackson gets it. Just because look at this last week, the whole Jerry Coleman thing, and then you have the point spread, the Bills underdogs at home for the first time in forever, 10 games or whatever it was, or Super Bowl era. I don't know. It's just one more thing. So going into the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, Jackson's MVP and Allen's going to the Super Bowl. That's extra motivation. Like just one more thing. So I'm hoping that Jackson wins it.
So you would
just for
deny
that.
him that just for you.
No, just for the Bills, right? To win the
Hmm.
Super Bowl. Extra
Yeah,
motivation.
More,
for
yeah,
everything.
more fire. Add more fuel. to the
More
fire.
bulletin board like stuff.
You could take it the other way though. If I say like, "Oh, John, you're a very noble person," you might be like, you might start getting your shit together, like give you something to like. Oh, you have to actually
Nah, let's go already get it.
show.
Earn the title.
Yeah, like, oh, you're the MVP. Oh, I better go out and actually play like it. I can't lay an egg.
What I'm trying to think in my head, what's a greater motivator? Somebody telling you you're not
Don't-
something that you think you are, or someone telling you that you're something that you don't think you
No,
are?
based on his comments after the game, based on Allen's comments after the game. yeah,
Nobody says what they actually
No.
think.
No,
Come on, you're
can't-
not
I
that
can't.
naive.
he was saying afterwards.
Oh, on to the
like, he
next
was-
one. Ooh.
Even about the defense, he was speaking for the defense. He's saying, "Oh, we're too small. We can't do anything this year. We're rebuilding and retooling and this and that." And our defense stepped up. Like he was even speaking for the defense. I think I think the negative is the bigger motivator, and it like helps even more. Yeah.
I guess at least we know how to light a fire under John, Nate. We
Yeah.
can start.
Yeah.
So what are you planning?
What if I was
Exactly.
like, what if I was like, yeah,
Worthless.
Mike's a far better co-host or something. Mike's the MVP of the co-hosts of this Circling the Wagons podcast.
I'm not as strong as Ellen. I don't know. I
I'm not mentally.
It just wilts.
Did you guys see that video of somebody asking Josh Allen's dad about Josh winning the MVP and his thoughts on that? I don't know if you saw that on social media. I just randomly came across it. He's like, "Oh yeah, Josh would, he's like, I'm not gonna lie, he'd love to get it." He's like, but he knows that the real thing is the Super Bowl thing of that. And I was thinking, like, yeah, that's kind of the company line, like you were saying, Mike. Yeah, he doesn't want it. He wants this, not that, or he doesn't care if he wins it. I know that they do care about it.
Is probably an incentive in his contract, wouldn't you think?
You would think so. There's got to be there's got to be some sort of multi-million-dollar.
Oh, I don't want the extra $5 million.
Couldn't use it.
Which is the incentive to win the Super Bowl is more in the
They're not
contract.
mutually exclusive.
Yeah, you can win both.
I agree. You could get both and get more money, but I'm guessing that the one to win the Super Bowl is worth more than to win the MVP. If you're structuring a team contract, you want your team to win Super Bowl. Like that's priority
Yeah,
one.
but if you're the player, like, oh, I can only control so much.
The team sport, Mike. I don't know.
All right, let's go into stats of the game again. James Cook leading rusher for the Buffalo
What the
Bills.
hell am I going to do with 2 garbage plates? I don't want to go out twice.
You don't have to worry about it because me and Nate are gonna be eager.
It's not gonna happen, Mike. Sorry to say. I mean, I would love if you won because that means that Josh Allen won it. But yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen based on a lot of different things. What was the last time the person that won first team All Pro didn't win the MVP is like since 1988 or something like that. It's ridiculous. So it's just unlikely. So James Cook leading rough for the Buffalo Bills, 17 carries for 67 yards. Ray Davis, 4 carries, 29 yards, 1 touchdown, had that 16-yard run. Ty Johnson, 5 carries, 31 yards. And Josh Allen, 10 carries, 20 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Josh Allen all doing great on the ground today. I mean, hey, if you're looking at MVP, man, you're looking at rushing stats. That's a good stat to have. On the receiving side of the ball, Khalil Shakir, leading receiver for the Buffalo Bills, 6 receptions on 7 targets for 67 yards, had that long 34-yard catch in the first quarter. James Cook, 3 receptions, 3 targets, 18 yards, and then just a lot of guys after that. A lot of eating. I wouldn't say eating when the second leading receiver only had 15 yards, but a lot of guys out there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 receivers caught a pass. It is amazing to me, by the way, that Josh Allen is doing so well as he is without Amari Cooper doing almost anything. You know what I mean? Like he's just not doing a whole lot statistically. I'm sure he is, just in general, but it's just funny that he's getting targets, but he's just not doing a lot. Not his fault.
It's a waste of a draft pick, right?
I mean, no, I won't say it's a waste of a draft pick, but man, it's I don't know.
He hasn't done a lot, and Coleman too. Like Coleman and Cooper, this game combined for 1 catch for 5 yards.
Hey, I'll do you one better.
I'm not complaining. They won, but
Coleman, Cooper, Knox, and Kincaid combined for 16 yards. So I see your point. On the Ravens side of the ball, so the Bills had 273 yards of total offense. The Ravens had 416 yards of total offense. So obviously, better day.
I like those guys.
I like. What
wasn't the game plan? I think they're good receivers. Seem more like crossing routes. Like they just seem like they're on an island out there in those conditions.
Well, that was another thing is I know that Marlon Humphrey's a good corner. I don't know why they weren't attacking the other corner. I think that was Stevens. I think is his name. He's a weak part of the defense, and they kind of tried. Then they just went away from that completely. And then eventually, Marlon Humphrey went off the field with an injury, and I'm like, great. Now you got 2 corners that you can take advantage of, and they still didn't do it. So I'm sure it was game plan. I'm sure it was being conservative. Just kind of hoping they'd take advantage of that just a little bit more.
But I don't. Again, I think the weather played a big factor.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, 18 for 25, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Derrick Henry, the leading rusher for the Ravens, 16 carries for 84 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a long of a 17-yard carry on the day. I was kind of surprised they didn't give him the ball more, but then again, 16 attempts is not like a low amount of attempts. Like there was that one drop he had. Another thing that the Bills got lucky with were drops yesterday by the Ravens. To your point, Mike, trying not to pass the ball any more than you had to. Derrick Henry had that huge drop in the first quarter. The ball hit him right in the hands and he just dropped it. I mean, we talked about Mark Andrews and the 2-point conversion. There was another drop. I can't think of who did it earlier. Was it Isaiah Likely maybe, or someone dropped it, an easy open pass. So yeah, Derrick Henry. Justice Hill, 6 carries for 50 yards. He was doing well. Lamar Jackson on the ground, 6 carries for 39 yards. Isaiah Likely, the leading receiver for the Ravens, 4 receptions on 5 targets, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Rashad Bateman, next leading receiver, 4 receptions on 5 targets for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. Mark Andrews, 5 receptions on 7 targets for 61 yards. And then a bunch of other folks after that. So yeah, those were stats of the game. Cool. Let's go into Sweet Sassy Molassy plays of the game. John, I'll start with you on this one. What's your first or most important Sweet Sassy Molassy play of the game?
For me, it's the Terrell Bernard punch out and fumble recovery on Mark Andrews. That was like ridiculous. Like Ravens driving to try to score and take the lead. Andrews caught the pass, clear first down. Oh no, what's going to happen? And he's just all of a sudden crossing the field and like punches it out, lands on the ball. Like, what just happened? Like, that's amazing. Like, that was awesome.
It was a great play. It was a great play. Whenever that happened, it felt like the Bills just kind of landed on it or picked it right up. That's not normally the case, right? I mean, I feel like we've seen receivers, running backs, quarterbacks drop the ball and it just bounces right back up into their hands on the other team. So, yeah, for it to land right in Terrell Bernard's hands after that, amazing play. I like that one. Mike, what about you? Do you have a Sweet Sassy Molassy play of the game?
Yeah, I got to go with that one. Completely changed the game. Bills or the final Ravens pass that Andrews dropped, but I like John's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say that was actually the Andrews drop 2-point conversion. But do we normally give the Sweet Sassy Molassy play of the game to like another team's play or not play? So if I'm not going that, I'm definitely going with yours, John, and Mike's. I would give like an honorable mention to the Lamar Jackson fumble where Von Miller scooped it up. And like you mentioned, thank God he didn't fumble it because that definitely looked like a possibility in instant replay. The Trey White DPI was huge. If I was going to say there's a Gettysburg of the game, that might be one of them. But I don't think there was there a turning point of this game, like a play that really just kind of changed the outcome? Because I mean, maybe stopping one of the 2-point conversions. I don't know. It felt like kind of like a back and forth that there wasn't just one play that kind of changed the outcome.
I think like those plays were all important, like both 2-point conversion stops, the Bass field goal, and each of the turnovers. But I don't think any single one of those was like a point where it's like, okay, now it's completely the momentum is shift, right? I think it was a back and forth, and I think the Bills had it the whole game. I think there was a lot of, moments, but I don't know if there was a Gettysburg.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you guys think of that Trey White DPI? Did you think that was true pass interference? Because, we didn't get a good replay of it in the stadium, but then when I watched it again on the way back, and of course the Ravens fans behind us were just like livid that was because it was a 3rd down play. It gave the Bills a 1st down. They were able to score a touchdown before the end of the half. And I think looking back at it live, it was like, well, he wasn't looking back at the ball. Trey White was definitely looking back at the ball for that. I don't think he even like turned his head while he was covering Keon Coleman or whatever. But I did notice at the very end, he was holding Keon Coleman's arm down. So I think in that respect, it was a good play, but it was so close. I could see it normally never being called. So I'm happy it was called, obviously, but I don't think it was a bad call. I just think it's not normally called, but it should have been.
I wouldn't have called, like, I guess what you say, he held his hand down. I didn't see that, but I only watched it a time or two. And I thought it was, I wouldn't have called it. But the Deion Dawkins holding penalty, I thought was just as much as that. You could argue gave the Bills a touchdown. I thought the Bills
Killer for sure.
would just
Like,
kill. Yeah, I thought they were going to score on that and just killer. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. That holding call that was not even a holding call.
that effectively ended the drive.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like a makeup call. That Trey White DPI was like a makeup call for that terrible holding penalty against Deon Dawkins. And it's funny.
sort of, because you can still argue that it was like he was impeding him to go and catch the ball. Still,
True. Yeah, good point. One was an egregious call that was not right.
Maybe it's more of a hold. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. One was completely wrong. It was like the refs didn't even know the rules of the game. Like that wasn't holding. He took his hands and he dropped him down, and you can do that.
And like I said earlier, there were a couple of times where there's Bills guys laying flat on their back several seconds after the play ended, and they didn't call anything.
There looked like a few holds too that they just weren't calling them, which is not a bad thing, but let them play, man. Let them play. So let's go into Wall of Fame and Wall of Shame. Let's see. Mike, do you want to start this one off? Do you have someone to put on your Wall of Fame? Someone or something? Or many things like John would do. A whole wall for the Wall of Fame.
That's why it's a wall.
That's why it's a wall and not just a single plaque.
We say like it always starts and ends with Allen, and I think he certainly played well enough to win the game, and even more when it's juxtaposed with Lamar's turnovers, right? So hats off to him, but he didn't have to put on the cape. So like we could give it to Allen week in and week out, but absent that, I would say Milano. Like just the stark contrast between this week and week 4, and I think it's directly attributable to him spying Lamar. Just, man, we're lucky to have him be back on the team, and like what a huge difference maker he was for the defense.
Yeah, agreed, Mike. I'm glad that you mentioned Matt Milano. I didn't think I was going to get to him, but I mean that the defense in general plays different around him. It feels like even though I like Dorian Williams, I think he's good, and he did play a lot of snaps yesterday, which I was kind of surprised. I was hoping he would, just for coverage against Derrick Henry. When Derrick Henry was on the field, I feel like Dorian Williams was usually on the field as like their third linebacker. But yeah, Matt Milano.
That's my one. But the adaptability, I thought, like Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, like playing the man cover, like stopping Derrick Henry and forcing Lamar to beat you, I thought was the exact right game plan, because we all had PTSD from when Derrick Henry ran all over us. And if you lose, like I just did not want to lose giving up 200 yards to Derrick Henry. Like I can live with it if we bottle him up and Lamar Jackson just plays out of his mind, and the Bills don't have an answer for that, right? Like, yeah. But the way they were able to bottle him up really set the tone and gave us a chance to win the game, which ultimately happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, Mike. John, what about you? Wall of Fame?
I think it definitely has to go. Well, I got lots of things on my list here, but I think it would have to go to a defensive player for sure. And I'm going to stick with Bernard. He made the play of the game. 4 tackles, the forced fumble. I'll go with Bernard, but Milano was great. Our defense was good in general. Hamlin and Bishop both had good games.
Yeah, that's a good one, John. I was going to give it to the defense's ability to keep those turnovers going and keep them. I mean, just turnovers in general on the defensive side of the ball. The defense not only getting turnovers, but defending 2-point conversions, being able to defend Derrick Henry. And I wish I could just give it to one player, but I couldn't really pick one out like you guys could have, just one specific guy like leading the charge. I felt like from the defensive line to the linebacking core that wasn't there in week 4, you guys mentioned with Bernard and Milano, even the secondary stepping up when Derrick Henry did break through to the second level. I felt like DeMar Hamlin or Taylor Rapp were there that he didn't have a big play. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of pundits were saying that the Ravens were going to win, because they had seen what happened in week 4. They're like, that's going to happen again for sure. But that goes back to coaching, like you said, coaching them up. So coaching deserves a lot of credit. I'll give an honorable mention to, I feel bad doing this, but Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, his 2 mistakes, which he doesn't normally make, won the Bills the game for sure. The turnover and then dropping that pass. I feel bad that he's getting death threats and stuff like that. And I've seen people on Twitter or social media saying like, "Hey, let's donate to his charity to support him," which I'm totally for. But it's crazy that fans get that. I mean, I guess fans just get.
Oh, you know what you're always doing is allocating our funds without asking John and I. You're really good at writing like communal checks.
Oh, Mike and John won't miss this. Add another 0. Yeah. I'm just like coming up with things to give money away for, like causes.
Poof.
Poof. Let's do one for Lamar Jackson. What's Derrick Henry's entire Ravens offense? Yeah.
Like, I mean, all for generosity, but because he dropped a pass, you don't I get it if you get injured or I don't know.
I know,
or make the play that sends the Bills to the playoffs to end the drought. Yeah, totally. Every time somebody,
I think people feel bad. I think people feel bad for the death threats and they want to counteract that.
Yeah, you didn't see the
death threats on Twitter? That's surprising.
Like, I know, right? Remember like Leo's McAlvin, like, and there's been other instances throughout the league where like, oh, I know where this guy lives, and I'm gonna like do this. Like, it's just like, why are people doing this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, death. I mean, but it's funny to your point, Mike. People doing it for Tyler Bass, which I get, but nobody from the Chiefs organization was trying to start a GoFundMe for Tyler Bass after he missed that field goal. Like, no one felt bad for him. He was getting death threats. He had to deactivate his social media accounts. And I get Bills Mafia being charitable, and I can appreciate that. But at some point, it's got to be like, come on, like, let's. If you're looking for money to give away and you have money to donate, absolutely do it. But I feel like we're kind of reaching at this point a little bit for these. We're just looking for something like when Lamar Jackson went in town with a concussion, like, yeah, I felt bad for him. It was a good cause. But at some point you got to say, okay, all right.
It seems like virtue signaling online, I think. Like, oh, we got to band together and donate to this. There's a million charities. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to, I mean, the Bills have charities, right? Like,
I think they had charities already, and people are like, oh, we found this charity that you already had. We want to donate.
Yeah, but I think what Mike's saying is that why don't you just donate to the Bills players charities, instead of finding other players on other teams? You just do it like as a thing, as opposed to like the virtue signaling does kind of seem like at some point, saying I donated, this is what I did, right? So
I can understand that. Yeah. Could you imagine if there was social media when Scott Norwood missed that kick?
I don't know.
I mean, he was already like dead to rights with the fans for.
He was probably getting real death threats, not like social media ones.
That game was not his fault either. Like, there was way many other things that went wrong up to that point.
No, yeah, that was definitely not Norwood's only fault. But yeah, everyone looks at him.
I mean, some of it was his fault.
For sure.
There was some of it, but
big part.
51%.
But the Bills were outcoached that game.
Oh yeah.
Giants
Bill Belichick, that was our first.
They held on to that ball for a really, like, the time possession was ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Bill Belichick was a defensive coordinator for the Giants in that game. He held the Buffalo Bills K-gun offense to 19 points, which is crazy. And then, like you said, John, the run game, the Bills could not stop Otis Anderson. So, and back up, could you imagine, like, if the Bills went to the Super Bowl this year and they ended up like Jaden Daniels gets injured and they put in his backup, like they did Jeff Hostetler back in the Giants game, you'd be like, oh, the Bills are winning this game. Like, there's no way that the backup for the Commanders is gonna beat the Bills. But that was not the case in that game. So,
I got one. How about this? If the Bills win the Super Bowl, how much would you allocate to purchasing merchandise commemorating the event?
That's a good one. That's a really good one, Mike. Oh man. I mean, what would be? I'm trying to think of just to put a dollar amount on it.
I definitely buy a DVD. So it's like what, $20?
They even sell DVDs anymore?
What would you play it on? Just look at it.
I still got a VHS player, so with it.
That ain't helping you with the DVD.
I'd buy a digital version of it.
But maybe I can buy a VHS tape.
I'd buy like a Prime Video digital version or something of it. Like the entire season, like when they do those breakdowns of the entire Bills 2024 season that led to the Super Bowl. Absolutely. I'd buy a digital version of it somehow on whatever service, iTunes or Apple or whatever.
We'd have to buy like the T-shirts. Of course.
I mean, I'd probably buy 10 different versions of that freaking t-shirt. Small letters, big letters across the front, on the back too. Long sleeve,
Which would
short
be
sleeve,
cool
tank
as
top.
a Bills fan for sure. And some you could put on ice just to pull out in 20 years.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
if we're even wearing shirts still in the future.
It's a
You'd
new
have to
age
get like a
standard.
couple sizes bigger to account for getting fat. But then
Right
slim
there,
down
buddy.
in case they come out with a miracle drug.
Oh, yeah.
You need every size.
It's almost like they do have that miracle drug right now. Yeah, that's
one
a
that
good point.
doesn't have like horrible side effects that we don't know about yet.
So if you were to put an amount on it, I mean, if I'm thinking,
How
I'm
much
just
are the
trying to-
t-shirts? Like 20
they're at least
29?
$25, 25,
Yeah.
30 bucks probably. And you want, like I was saying, a t-shirt, a tank top, a long sleeve, a sweatshirt, a hat. At
But
least
okay,
a hat.
let me ask you that. Like, if you saw a different fan base wearing it, wouldn't you be like, that's techie as hell, man? You're living in the past. I think that'd be
True.
so stupid, right?
Yeah, true.
What Super Bowl are we on now? I don't even
Six.
know. But if you saw a Pats, it's like, oh, we won Super Bowl 50, whatever, you'd be like, that's so lame. That's so stupid.
It'd have to be like, you'd have to be wearing it to like a game, or like when you're watching the game with your friends and family, right? Like that's the time to watch it. That's the time to wear it.
Yeah.
I would probably
Or
buy,
wait 20 years and then it's super cool.
Yeah. Break it out for the first time after Josh Allen has already made it into the Hall of Fame. Then you start breaking it out for the first time. I get like one of those banners. Like I have the Circling the Wagons banner behind us, the Circle the Wagons. I get a banner of like the Super Bowl banner, like Super Bowl, whatever winners, Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl champions. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else though. What else would you possibly get? Like maybe like a framed picture of it or something, of them holding the Lombardi. Like that'd be pretty sweet. So I'm probably thinking, like, as sad as it is, like $300, probably $300 easily. What do you guys think? What's a number? And I'd probably buy like maybe $50 worth of merchandise a year, maybe. So like 300 is a lot.
But you're really just pulling forward
Yeah, all those
your
other
merchandise. Yeah.
I would do 50 and hope that the rest of the stuff that I would want would be gifted to me through family members.
What if it's not though, John? What if you knew it wasn't? Was 50?
And
the
it has
highest
an
you would
expiration.
go?
Like you can't go back and get it. That's the only thing.
They're not going to be
Just go
selling
back
this for
to-
the next 2 years.
No, you can always get whatever anytime.
What are you talking about?
Just go on eBay.
Yeah, you could probably buy some Bills AFC Championship
From the Bills' last Super Bowl run? You think there's stuff on eBay for that? That's not.
The last Super Bowl run. Like, what are you
doesn't
looking
have
for?
pit stains on it and stuff.
Yeah.
I got Zupas off of eBay from the 90s. It's fine.
Huh? How do they smell?
Well, you wash it first.
Hopefully in freaking bleach.
But you don't want to ruin the colors.
Maybe using the strongest, like, yeah.
Like scalding
Sanitized
hot
white.
water.
Wash it
Wife-
twice.
Come home, the wife's like, "Are you cooking soup today for dinner?" No, just sanitizing the hell out of these Zubas that I bought on eBay.
You're just like scratching your face from the bed bugs that you don't know you have.
Well, you bought you bought a mattress online too, used mattress. So there's
Tip
that.
one.
No, dude, the Bills merch has the bed bugs.
Oh yeah, of course. I thought we were buying everything used now. Like, yeah, you get pink eye from it, from people farting on it.
You get pink eye from someone farting?
Yeah, you never saw that? Was it Knocked Up? That movie Knocked Up. They all got pink eye in the house because they all like farted on each other's pillows, and you can spread it, but it has to be a bare butt cheeks fart on the pillow. So they all had it because they all did it to each other in a circle. So not on purpose. They all were pranking each other. They didn't realize they all did circle. So yeah, 300. But John, so you say, let's say you're not getting anything at all. Like this is all you can get. And it's like a one-time deal. Like you can't just hope that it's going to be available in another year because everyone's going to want it. They're going to sell out of this stuff.
What am I getting?
I don't think they're gonna sell out. Like they'll print as much. It's like U.S. dollar. They're gonna print as much as they want to print of the t-shirt.
That's what I'm thinking. I can wait.
But
to see.
there's an expiration date. Say it's a month or 6 months or a year. Like they're not gonna keep the printers running when the next.
After
Say the Bills win the next
Super
one,
Bowl.
but they're not going to print the previous one.
No.
So it's like the
But then you get two.
limiting factor is the
You
time.
get both. At that point, they're like, "Oh, we'll talk about both of them." So what
Oh.
what are we actually talking about here? Like, what am I getting for whatever dollar?
Anyway, Mike, on to you. How much would you spend? Taking forever. Mike,
I guess
$300. I said I'd spend on sweatshirts, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, whatever. A DVD of the Super Bowl run.
that's
Mike,
reasonable.
what about you?
That's reasonable.
300?
That's all for Nate. That's not gifting anybody or anything, right?
No, I'd spend more for other people. I'd continue, yeah.
I guess it's how much the T-shirt costs. It used to be like
T-shirts are minimum 25.
150.
And you don't want to.
I was thinking 150 was my number. I thought you guys were both going to say 150, but I don't know all the other like ancillary. Like once you go to the website, are there 100 different bullshit things you can buy, or is it like T-shirt, hat?
What if you could buy a pint glass, like a regular like glass that says Super Bowl, 56 winners? Like
sticker.
I gotta buy that now.
Sticker $6.99.
Sticker $6.99. Decal for my car that I'm gonna probably get rid of in 5 years. I gotta get that. License plate holder. I gotta get that. Office chair. I mean, they have everything. Buffalo Bills. The Super Bowl. Yeah. I think it's going to end up being 300 by the time, because everything you said, like, buying like 4 or 5 T-shirts or whatever, that ends up being $150. And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh yeah, now here's
free shipping. Spend 100 to get free shipping. Oh, I've spent 100. Why not 2?
It's going to be like a Bills Super Bowl winner margarita maker. I got to get that too. I mean, who knows? Stuff like that. You'll find it.
Because it's the one time in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And it may not happen again.
Ever.
And this might be the best. Like, let's say the Bills do win this Super Bowl. They win another one in next year or the year after. Maybe this is the best one of all of them because it was the first one.
So really killing me here. You're like, oh, when the Bills win the Super Bowl, and they might not even win it. And then and even if they do win it, it could be the only time ever. Like,
Mike just got me on this.
You guys are really
hole.
crushing me on this.
Getting you psyched
You're the one that doesn't even want to buy a shirt. You spent your whole life.
I just said 150. I don't understand.
150 is not going to get you shit. You better start saving now. Set a little aside from every paycheck.
I am saving because I can't wait for it. I've been saving for 40 years.
Putting part of his 401k aside to purchase this merch. John, you originally started with
50 cents a year for 40 years. I'm waiting.
John, you originally said $50. Like, that wouldn't buy you half a hoodie. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
I don't even care. I just want to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it and remember it for every day until my deathbed.
I don't care anything after. I don't need any remembrance. I can just my memory. That's all I need.
You say you want a Josh Allen jersey. Like, well, why do you want a Josh Allen jersey? So you can remember how good of a Buffalo Bills quarterback he is when he's gone or something, right? Like, you want to have that memory.
Yeah, my last jersey about was Fred Jackson, so you can tell how often I buy things.
Yeah, but you love it, right? Because it reminds you of how good Fred is.
He's really good. I love him.
I think Nate, like, you need a mental reframing because you're like, oh, when Josh Allen's gone, like, bro, he's gonna outlive you considerably.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, I didn't say when he's dead. I meant when he's not playing anymore. When he's retired.
The days are long gone. We're like, oh, we're totally gonna outlive that person.
I know, that's long gone.
It used to be every person you met, you're like, I'm gonna outlive that.
I'm gonna.
Now I even meet some animals. I'm like, I'm not sure.
Sure, you're gonna outlive that dog. That's already 12.
Squirrel I saw run up the tree. I don't know. He looks pretty agile.
Squirrels outliving me. Yeah.
It used to be, man. Every person, and then at least every animal you met, you're like, I got them. But no longer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Josh. I mean, just think about it from a youth standpoint. I mean, I got 12, 13 years on him age-wise, and then he's in much better shape and he's much better genetic pool. So it's
and he's part of the elite, so he's going to get much better health care.
That shitty leftover health care. He gets to set an appointment and go that day.
He spent 15 years getting physically destroyed by the biggest, fastest, strongest people on earth, and he's going to be so much better off than you.
My CTE is just going to be so much worse just based on him having such better health care. Yeah, good point. This has been a fun conversation, guys. You want to talk about? I'm gonna real quick Wall of Shame. A few honorable mentions for Wall of Fame. Fitzpatrick, amazing opening sequence where he was a legend of the game. He got everyone psyched up, went shirtless. That was pretty sick. It was a cold day. It was a cold night. It could have been so much worse. I want to say it was like 10 degrees by the end of the night. and it was a little bit less than that with wind chill. It could have been so much worse. It was not that windy, thank God. But I mean, to do that in that weather, there's a few guys behind us that were doing it, and I was just like, dude, you're just either way too wasted or what. So seeing Fitzy like that, man, that was cool. It was cool. Tyler Bass, I think we mentioned. I'm giving him an honorable mention for a Wall of Fame. Wall of Shame, questionable play calling in the second half. I was going to say there's certain things I mentioned that drive that ended in a field goal right before the Ravens took over. Didn't like that shotgun read option call that Allen got stuffed immediately. Just certain things like that. I'm being kind of picky, but any of you guys have any Wall of Shame nominees? No?
A conservative offense, maybe that was part of the game plan. Not sure. But the 2 points to start the second half was not good. The third down defense is still an issue. They didn't force any punts. It's still relying on turnovers. And the pass rush, you mentioned it before, Jackson was standing in there for a long time, lots of plays, and the four guys couldn't get home.
So another thing I'm going to put on there for honorable mention is injuries, because the Bills actually had some injuries this week to key players. Taylor Rapp went out with a hip injury. John, you mentioned who's in concussion protocol. Is that Christian Benford?
Yeah, he got hurt on the onside kick at the end of the game.
What? Really?
I watched it and I didn't really see his head get hit. Maybe it looked like it was to his shoulder, but maybe just like I don't know. Maybe something happened where they are evaluating. And I know Ray Davis was the previous week was in the protocol and then played, but like I think that's kind of rare to like be available the next week after being in concussion protocol. So I'm kind of worried about that. And then Taylor Rapp, his hip, he's day to day. So that's two guys in the secondary that are starters, not good.
Good ones too. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously Christian Benford's one of the best in the league, so that would suck to lose him. And Taylor Rapp, that would be a tough win, obviously, or a tough loss for next week because he did have the interception. He is having a pretty good year. I feel better about Cole Bishop stepping up into that role because he did for a quarter or so against the Ravens than I would about Kaiir Elam stepping in for Christian Benford. I mean, that just sounds like Mahomes is going to pick on him all game if that's the issue. So,
and having both out would be that much worse.
Yeah, it'd be a big loss. So, Bills are 1.5 point dogs against the Chiefs. What are your guys' thoughts on that game before we end this one? Unfortunately, we went really long just with the commentary. We won't be able to get into Twitter, anything like that. So appreciate you guys writing in. Unfortunately, we just don't have the time. But real quick thoughts on the Bills versus the Chiefs. Obviously, we just talked about injuries kind of leading into that. That's going to be a big deal. But I feel like, in my opinion, the Ravens game was a tougher matchup for the Buffalo Bills, and it ended up being a really close game. I think that the Chiefs are a better matchup. I'm not saying the Bills are going to win, but I think that the Bills play the Chiefs better offensively than they would necessarily the Ravens. So I don't know. I feel oddly confident about that game, even going into Arrowhead. Not supremely confident. I felt oddly confident going into this Ravens game that the Bills could win it. So what are your guys' thoughts? The Bills are 1.5 point dogs going into KC.
Side. KC is still going to be tough. It's hard to beat teams more than once in a year. So, they just got to do what they do and hope they win those individual battles.
Mike, what about you?
At this point, anything is, it's like 10 percentage point variance of 50-50, I think. Like I pick the Bills, but I don't give them more than 60-40. Like I like them. Their odds better than beating the Ravens because Derrick Henry was so scary to me, but love the Bills coaching staff, their ability to adapt. And I think having Milano back is absolutely huge for this team. And it's going to come down to limiting mistakes. And geez, maybe who has the ball last, the way these teams play each other. Wouldn't it be awesome? Like we're all like, oh, it's going to be such a close game. So our fault. Like let's finally get a blowout.
Yeah. A 51-3 win.
Gotta happen eventually.
Yeah.
But you play it 10 times, it might be 5 wins to each team. But I really love the Bills' chances. It feels like this could be their year.
It feels like they're on not on a mission, but like that things are going their way I mean, we mentioned all the luck that they had in this last game with things going their way, not going against them. And I don't know, man, this just seems like a different team in a good way. But I'm still weary of it because I've not been used to that, right? I'm just not used to.
PTSD.
Yes, exactly.
And not even from recent history, like 13 seconds and everything, but even going back to the other, the 4 Super Bowls and everything, like even if they do beat the Chiefs, you're like kind of like as a fan, you can think about the next game. The players can't, but as a fan, you can think about the next game. Be like, well, if they do beat the Chiefs, then they have to play in yet another NFC East team.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
It's like,
different team though. It's just like that Terrell Bernard.
I know. It's like 30 years later or whatever it is, but like, still, like the things they go through your mind, and
yeah, for sure. Interesting. Well, I'm excited about it, guys. Thank you guys all for watching, for listening, for being a part of this one. I'm sorry I got out a day late. Like I mentioned, I was at the game and did get home to like midnight, 12:30, and definitely wasn't going to record then. So luckily we got it out there a little bit later, but we appreciate you guys all sticking with us. Glad that you guys saw the Bills win a divisional round. It's been a while. Onto the AFC Championship game with a game that I feel much more confident about. Like Mike just mentioned, the Bills have Matt Milano. They did not have him last year for that game. They did not have Christian Benford for that game. They had like a really hobbled Rasul Douglas for that game. Who else were they missing? Gabe Davis, someone else. Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford, Matt Milano wasn't at that when we're in that game. So, and Von Miller was there. He just was bad. So yeah, lots of fun things that Bills fans should be excited about. So thank you guys all for listening. Signing off for John. Signing off for Mike.
Go Bills! Start setting aside some bread for that Super Bowl merch.
And for me, Nate, go Bills. I put $20 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl before the season, and I'm feeling good about that $20. Feeling good. Maybe that'll be my merch money. We'll see. We'll talk to you guys after the Kansas City Chiefs game, and hopefully we're talking victory. Go Bills.
Thank you for listening to the Circling the Wagons podcast. Download and subscribe to us in your favorite podcast service. Email us at ctwpod@gmail.com. That's Charlie Tango Whiskey Pod@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CTWPod. And most importantly, go Bills!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Nate.
Well, listen, the whole show is called Circling the Wagons.